Good morning, everyone. Today is the 28th of June, 2018. I'm Roy Potter. Welcome to the Potter Expositor. Welcome as you come in. It's very windy today. Typically on windy days, when the weather's at least the least bit disturbed, we have some difficulty keeping a good connection. So I will try to make this relatively short today, I think, because I don't think the wind is going to change much. And why should that bother? Well, we're still in the Stone Age here in a lot of ways. So we're lucky we can get any signal at all sometimes. Anyway, you noticed I called this one, The Train Has Left the Station. And actually, it's kind of funny because I was on text last night with a number of people, one of which is my Republican insider friend in California. And that's really his saying, and you'll understand that in just a few minutes. And I think it's really true by and large. So at any rate, we'll get to that in a minute. I made an emergency broadcast last night late. Some of you may have already seen it this morning. And what it has to do with is an article in the Washington Pundit. And let me get that information for you. This is going to become more and more commonplace. And I've noticed that David Seaman and Alex Jones in particular are starting to talk about the child sex trafficking and all of that and linking it to Pizzagate. But of course, that doesn't mean the pizza parlor specifically in D.C. It's not just talking about that. It's bigger than that. But I want to give David Seaman and Alex Jones a shout out on that because it's true. That is still a very, very big problem, and it will be for a long time. It has been for a long time. It was in biblical times. We know it exists today. A lot of the legends of Dracula and all that are based upon some of that. But at any rate, I wanted to make sure that you understand that I do understand that that's a problem and that it's very, very bad. It's wicked, it's evil, everything wrong with it is possible. David Seaman and David has kept it up the entire time. And you should go to Fulcrum News and you can see some of his information on that. But the original story, while it had, it was true as far as there being this problem with child trafficking, etc. The media and the deep state and Media Matters, David Brock, all those people focused our attention on one place and made it all about that. And of course, it isn't. And David Seaman was very clear about that at the time, and so have others as well. But what we're seeing now is last night I got this message, and it was an article in the Washington Pundit, and I have it here. It's on June 11th, 2018, and it gives the name of an actor, and then it says linked to child sex trafficking ring according to court records. Now this is out of the Washington Pundit. Now, like I said last night, the Washington Pundit has been linked to the Obama Foundation. They'll scream and holler about that, but it's you can see it. And some people say, well, that doesn't mean that they do what they're told. Well, I think this is another example of that. They also were tied in, as you might remember, Montegraph and I were being accused of manufacturing the character B, who is on Twitter, who is very supportive, and I guess continues to be, of the Q phenomenon. But the fact of the matter is it wasn't Monty and myself, of course. We don't do things like that. And we traced it back. Monty actually traced it back to the Washington Pundit and found out that this B person actually worked there, had been using that same handle on Twitter, that same name, for quite some time. And it was there on the Washington Pundit site. And then we found out that they had some access to the Twitter keys, which could account for Trump's tweets and Q's statements correlating in time, and some other things like that. One of the most important things, of course, was that the Obama Foundation was linked into it. So there are a whole lot of things here, and the Washington Pundit's going to kick and scream about this, but they've already shown that. Well, this article that came out on June 11th, 2018. And I'm not even going to provide the link for it because this thing is a type of honey trap. This is to get us talking about this, and then to basically make it look like that. Of course, we don't know what we're talking about. We'll refer to this article, and I read through the article last night. Guaranteed it was late, but I looked at it, and there's all this. I mean, the information is really petty. There's no really hardcore information you can sink your teeth into. We do know that this particular actor had some accusations made against him in the 90s, but apparently there was no actual adjudication. So if you bring this information up, they can tell you that, or they'll say that this shows that you don't know what you're talking about, and make you look kind of stupid, all right, and use it as a way to go after Trump supporters who are just trying to get to the truth, but they'll make it all about this now, and that you've wrongly accused somebody and all of that. So I just want you to be aware of it. Apparently, it's making the rounds on Facebook, and now possibly on Twitter too. I haven't seen it there, but I've had friends that think that information on Facebook is good news. It's been vetted and all that, and nothing could be further from the truth. Facebook, you have to be careful of. There's disinformation on there all the time, and if you start citing those things as news stories without vetting them and looking at what they're saying, you can get yourself in trouble. And I've seen people have that difficulty several times, and this is an example of that same thing. So just be aware of that. And like I say, I'm not giving you a whole lot of information. I'm just telling you that they're trying to get us to focus in on this particular actor. Not that there aren't people in Hollywood. We already know this. People in government, people in corporations, military, police, the intelligence community, et cetera, that are involved in this stuff. But this is going to be a way for them to attack you if you bring this story up. I can already tell from the way the article's written. They're quoting some, they say it's an article from an independent journalist, and they give his name, and I don't even want to do that. Well, I'll give his name, John Litchfield. I think I can give the independent journalist's name. That way you can make sure you find it. John Litchfield. I'll read you the first few sentences of this. According to court records, and I clicked on that court records thing, and it took me to a travel site, touring site, like traveling around the world. According to court records from 1998, independent journalist John Litchfield discovered that the prostitution agency routinely ensnared girls as young as 15, forcing them to have sex, and then it goes all the way down. So John Litchfield is who they quote, and then the whole article is written in such a way that there are no sources, not really, no really hardcore information. It's just to get you riled up and to start spreading this information. Then they can say, see, the Trump supporters jumped on something that has no basis in fact. That's going to happen more and more, okay? I just want to say that because it's really obvious. Along with that came out a thing from Dennis Matthews last night, or Dennis Matthews, I used to know Dennis Matthews. Chris Matthews, and I saw this story actually a day or so ago. So it's not just Chris Matthews talking about it, but it's saying that Mueller is going to issue indictments probably around in the fall. And, of course, it's going to link, the Russians and the Trumps and all that. And we've already seen this before, and it's going to continue. And so this is more disinformation. This is more fear-mongering, especially trying to get us, the Trumpers, to be upset. But more than that, it's to stir up the leftists, the Marxists. And I hate to say the Democrats because they're bad people in the Republican Party too. I'll just say it. Mitt Romney, he gets the nomination, in the primary now. He gets the primary. He won the primary for the governor's seat, or the Senate seat, the seat that Hatch is vacating in Utah. See, the Utah stuff, you just don't know how bad it is here, and that's why I don't like the whole situation with Huber being this supposed investigator, this prosecutor, assigned by Jeff Sessions. I mean, it's really ludicrous actually when you think about it. So here we go. The people in Utah put And he'll win. He'll win in November. I'm telling you. And if there's anybody in the entire country that doesn't deserve a Senate seat, it's Mitch Romney. Mitt Romney. Mitch Romney. Okay, I keep getting some information here. I'm sorry, but that's just another example. So the left is going to be getting upset, and that's another reason why I named this particular edition, I guess you could say, program of the Potter Expositor. The train has left the station because, as my Republican friend said last night, it's now we were kind of concerned about where the November elections would go, the midterm elections, and that's still a concern. But he's fairly confident now, as are a lot of people, that Trump has got this again in the midterm elections. Pretty well. We're fairly certain that's the situation. I'm not a pollster. I don't have my hands on that. I don't have a pulse to tell you, but I'm listening to these other people that have been involved in this for a long time, and they're looking at it that way. That doesn't let us off the car here. We've got to stay going down the track, and we got to get out and we got to talk like we're doing here. We've got to vote. We got to make sure that the right people get in there. Don't lay back and get relaxed. You need to take action, and the action here, of course, is you get involved in these primaries. You get involved in the election in the fall, etc. Okay, make sure that we get these things done. And I hate to talk about, because I know it's a left-right paradigm regardless. I know it still is. But it's kind of like the way, certain commentators have said it, it's a beachhead. We've got to retain the beachhead at this point. And no, I don't like Mitt Romney, for instance. I don't like Mitch McConnell. John McCain was my nemesis. I can't stand the guy because I know what he is. So, no, I'm not going to say, I feel sorry that he's sick. I mean, I don't like to see anybody get sick, but this guy, he's been so evil. I'm sorry. He's just got to go away. But at any rate, so we're going to see these things. We've seen the attacks by Maxine Waters. We've seen the attacks on Sarah Sanders. We've seen the attacks on Mitch McConnell. That's why I said Mitch Romney. Mitt Romney. The attacks on Mitch McConnell and his wife. And those weren't really attacks. Actually, those people didn't look so bad that confronted them. That was a mild thing. And I said months ago, if Trump doesn't act, if he doesn't get out ahead of this, more people are going to be attacked and hurt. And now it's even getting to his White House. Okay? I mean, it's been there anyway with his kids and all of that, but this is going to get worse and worse. We can't have timidity. Now, I understand he's having patience here. I've looked at this from a lot of angles. You must have patience here. Make sure that, it's done right. But as I said last week, I think it was, even Chris Farrell on Lou Dobbs said it's time for the president to use the Marshal Service, the DHS, and the U.S. Marine Corps to go in after the FBI, the CIA, the intelligence community generally, and other places, which I won't mention here right now. I think that needs to be done. The left is going to get worse. I'm not certain that it'll go to bloodshed. They would like us to pull the trigger first, as Matt Bracken has said, and other commentators have been talking about that as well. That, like Mike Adams, saying that we can't be the ones that pull the trigger first, because the first people to do that will lose. And they're going to try to manipulate us into that. So don't go there. Not saying not to defend yourselves, but that's what they're going to try to do. It's the bully in the schoolyard again. They hit first, and then you try to defend yourself, and who gets in trouble? It may not be very easy to control. I don't know. But that's certainly down. That's the track that they want to go down if all else fails, especially now that they know that they're not going to have their blue wave that they anticipated. So that train has left the station. It's going down the track. It's going good. It's like I said last week. I think the information that Trump was not going to run in 2020 is I don't think it was deliberate misinformation. I think it was just misunderstanding, or could have been. It could have been a way to try to see where the left goes if it affected them in some way. I don't know. But there is this left-right problem right now, and I'm not going to call it Democrats and Republicans. I'm going to say people of good conscience and people of bad conscience. Okay, that's what we're looking at here. And it's rampant on the bad side. It's really, really gotten bad. And I've talked about that before and what it's doing to our society and the scriptural basis for it and all that. But I won't go there today. I think you already know, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. Another thing that's out there that's I suspect is disinformation from the intelligence community, especially the CIA, is that North Korea is continuing to upgrade its nuclear facilities. And no, I'm not looking at satellite photos and all of that. But I'm not the only one that's saying this. Again, this Republican insider mentioned it last night. I was already thinking about it, but I thought I'd bring it up this morning. They gave us some photographs to look at, and nobody's going to know what they're looking at on those things. I mean, even you remember when Colin Powell went in and he was showing all these pictures of water trucks and stuff and had that vial. They say what it is when it is. They say it's this particular thing when it isn't. So I'm not certain that that's what's going on. I don't really see Kim Jong-un being interested in going down that road. I really don't. So I think that's another thing to try to discredit Trump and Trump's supporters, along with the situation with the Washington Pundit naming this actor and all this business, and also Chris Matthews talking about the continuation of the Russian collusion narrative. So all of these things are ways to discredit Trumpers and Trump. So just be aware of all of that. And I just got a message here that my daughter is really happy about the Putin Trump meeting. I talked about that the other day in a special broadcast, and yes, that's fantastic. Myself and again my Republican insider, we've been looking to this for a long time, and we just knew it was going to happen. It has to, really. It was really in Trump. If you looked at it, it was really in Trump's campaign platform. It was really there all the time, improving relations with Russia, and so here we go. That more than the North Korea thing, as I've already talked about, is going to be looked at by the deep state and the intelligence community, the New World Order and all that, as a very dangerous thing for them. I've taught about a year ago when I started talking about how important this was, and a lot of people who read the scriptures, they look at it from their, and I've talked about this before, they look at it from their own understanding of modern euphemism, of their own concepts because of what they've been taught, how they view it in their mind. They kind of create this image and they think that's the way it's going to be. There's a thing about two witnesses in the book of Revelations, and that they will stand against the evil side, the two witness testimony. There are a lot of things that lend credence to the idea that those are nations, not individual people. Not that they couldn't be both. That's not, I'm not saying that that's not possible either. But I've for a long time I've suspected that particular prophecy of the two witnesses will actually be about the United States and Russia, and we could be seeing that starting to work out now between Trump and Putin. But we'll see. It's just an interesting correlation, and I think I needed to bring that up. So because my daughter told me how excited she was, I wanted to mention that. Okay. As I said, they're very upset. The left's very upset about where things are. They're going to get more violent. There are people out there that are saying, we need to get in their face. Wear your MAGA hats. Your InfoWars shirts. Whatever you got. Trump 2020. Whatever you have, and I would never say not to do something like that because it does take some courage. I'm not one to go out and get in somebody's face with those things at the present time. Not that it's not our right to wear those things. And I've worn especially my InfoWars M16 shirt. If you want to come and take it, I've worn that out a few times. I got a good response from that. But it really depends on where you are. The main thing that I think we need to avoid is confrontation that can get out of control. If you go looking for trouble, my mom used to tell me this, and I'm sure you've heard it. If you go looking for trouble, you're going to find it. And I'm not certain that the advice to get out there and confront these people is a good idea. Do your own, demonstrations. Do your own, whatever. If you want to have a group of people go down to the Capitol building and put up, Second Amendment or First Amendment support, Trumpers forever or whatever, that's okay. But if you go down with the intent of confronting somebody, I think that's a bad tactic. So I'm just going to say, just be aware that that's maybe not the best thing to do. Be active, but don't go looking for trouble, because, like my mom said, you're going to find it. And it might not end up the way you want. It could actually damage the movement in one way or another. Very much like this whole thing with VOP did down in Tucson, and the way now that they've wrapped that back around, not necessarily the VOP thing in Tucson, but the whole thing about child trafficking, trying to put it back on Trump now, when he's trying to fix it. He understands that those kids down there, that they have to separate because they don't know if those are their parents or not. That is a problem, absolutely, 100%. And of course, the people that want to continue that's their recreation. I'm talking about the pedophiles, both in government and in corporations and elsewhere. That's their currency, that's their thing, and they don't want that interrupted. And so they're going to accuse now Trump of doing what they're doing because, and I saw this thing coming, weeks ago, and here it is. So at any rate, I will publicly state that I agree with Trump's policy 100%. It needs to be this way for a lot of reasons, and I'm not going to sit here and explain what those are, but one of them definitely is you don't know that those children belong to those people. You don't know that. You don't know that they're their children. And I would dare say that in most cases they're not. All right. All right. I've already mentioned that for months I've been saying that Trump had to act, get on the initiative, or the attacks would get worse. And now, the other part of this that maybe people missed, and I mentioned it the other day, is that you got to understand, the leftist Marxists and who we see in the FBI and the IC who are going along with this stuff, they're allies. And so, the people that usually are out there going after these types of folks, no, they're out after the ranchers out west who are just trying to hold on to their property, who are good everyday Americans who just want to be left alone and live their life in their pursuit of happiness. No, the apparatus, the IC, the FBI, the BLM, the Justice Department goes after good ranchers and opposes them and persecutes them over some stupid Agenda 21 nonsense, and manipulating them to sign contracts they should have never signed in the first place. And that's the out, of course. Anyway, that's a kind of a complicated issue, but those are good, strong Americans. They're not allied with them people. They're not. The FBI and the IC are not allied with good Americans. They're allied with these DNC, leftist, Marxist hate groups. They're the hate groups. And so look what they've done to the president. Look what they've done to Trumpers. And I don't mean just the hate groups. I'm talking about the FBI and the IC, what they're still involved in. So you can see they're the ones that have the alliances. And that's a very dangerous situation because we can't trust those people in the FBI and the DOJ to do their job. Now I've heard, and I can't substantiate this, but I've heard that Trump has placed military intelligence operatives throughout these groups. I've seen that mentioned in a lot of places. Again, I can't verify that, but operationally it would make a lot of sense. They put MI people back in the anti-war movement, which I think was wrong, back in the 60s and 70s. I think that was wrong for a lot of reasons. To do something like that for unrighteous reasons is wrong. And that's why I always say, I want Trump to do the righteous thing. But to get inside of these groups that are trying to destroy the constitutional republic, that's a whole nother situation. The Bundys weren't out there to destroy the constitutional republic. They were out there demanding that they have their rights that they had over the land for 200 years, and it was being stolen from them and through a military occupation, basically, is what it was. It was the unrighteous use of force. Well, let's see if, and they're not going to. The DOJ and the FBI will not infiltrate these groups to any great degree. If they are, it's basically for information, for other operational reasons. But they're not out there to protect the American people from these groups, I don't believe, because they've already shown their hand that they're against the constitutional republic, the FBI and the IC. It's just the case. And no, I'm going to go back to it again. I don't believe that the rank and file is all good. No, I don't believe that, not for 1 second. That's a caveat that I think a lot of people make just to avoid having to look at it or to talk about it, to waste time on it. But no, the whole thing needs to be taken apart and restructured. That's just the way it is. I got to mention Laura Loomer. Holy cow. This lady, she was there in Las Vegas going after Lombardo. She and Shepard Ambulance and Jake Morphonios have been really on top of that stuff. Really excellent. And Laura, I tell you, I think I understood her saying that she has a place in Tucson. I'm not sure, but I think that's what I heard her say. But at any rate, and probably New York and probably a couple other places. But this was fantastic, the way that she confronted Maxine Waters. I'm not sure that. I looked at the video and I don't know that I would. I could understand why she filed assault charges against Maxine. Probably slapping her hand, could have broken her phone. That was unnecessary. I didn't really see the waving of the papers, like slapping her with it. But I wasn't actually there. I was just seeing the video, of course. But regardless, Laura, you got to hand it to Laura. What a gutsy lady. She went there, of course, to the I think she went with Jack Posobiec to that play in New York, and then got on the stage and, about the assassination of Caesar, when it was really Trump that they were pretending there. And Laura Loomer got up on the stage and yelled about it. And anyway, she's quite the lady, and you need people like her. You really do. And she's willing to step up onto that stage, and we need to thank her for it. So I just wanted to mention her in passing, along with, like I said a few minutes ago, David Seaman and his dogged pursuit of the child trafficking problem, the entire thing with Pizzagate, all the symbols and all of that. Even if you shouldn't get sidetracked on that particular one pizza parlor that they wanted to try to push it all on. But all of that's going to come out now, I think. I think it is. It's starting to look that way. Alex Jones is getting a little more courageous to go back and talk about it again. So I am a little embarrassed for him on a couple of things. One was, and I shouldn't bring this up, but I have to, because I wouldn't be honest if I didn't. Nathan Stoltman of Lift the Veil had a rather comprehensive program on the three big cults in our country right now. And, I don't know if I was the first one to call Q a cult. I'm not saying that everybody that follows Q are cultists. It depends on how you treat it. It's just like saying not everybody that's a member of a church, particular churches, that follows a certain pastor or whatever, that they're all cultists either. It's really more of an action than a state of mind. It can be both, but or belonging. It's not really just a belonging. It's what you do with it. And cultic behavior has to do with shutting other people's views down. You refuse to hear, any other point of view. You set up straw men. You don't admit your mistakes. When you make a prediction or something, you ignore it, and if somebody brings it up, you attack them for asking about it. All of that is the type of cultic, and I've seen it. I talked about it before, up close and personal. So I warned about that. Well, apparently it caught on for a lot of people that were willing to look at it for what it was. And I know there are millions of followers of Q, and I hate to really get onto it, but I'm bringing it up because Nathan Stoltman of Lift the Veil did an excellent explanation of that last night. Now, no, I don't agree with Nathan on a lot of his things. One is that he said that there's really no difference between Trump and Clinton. Well, that's manifestly not true. And maybe he meant it in quite a different way, but that's kind of the way it came across. And maybe I'm misquoting it exactly the way he meant it. But the point is that, Yeah, but he did say that, like I am, I'm very critical of Trump. I hold his feet to the fire because this is a political arena, and that's what we need to do. And maybe that's what Nathan was talking about, the necessity of continuing down that road of making sure that those elected leaders do the right thing. But at any rate, his explanation of the different cults was very good, and you should go look at that because it shows the damage that can be done by these things. And I don't want to sit and argue with people about it. I don't want to make a big deal about it because the more attention you give it, then of course people want to know. But the reason why I had to bring it up was Nathan Stoltman's deal last night, and he had these clips, and I'm going to bring this up like I said. Alex Jones at one point said, "I've talked to QAnon." And then there was also this clip last night where Jones had said, and I don't remember seeing this myself, but I saw the replay on Nathan's channel last night. And Alex Jones says, "Yeah, we've gotten word from high up in the government that the 8chan people, that's where they're revealing this information about what they're going to do to help people understand, and that we were asked to put Jerome Corsi on there to discuss it." And of course, all that, they've backed away from all that now. That's the danger of wanting to jump on a bandwagon so you get numbers, so you get viewers, so you get financial rewards, your capitalism, your sales go up and all that. Those types of things come back and bite you in the rear end. And so that was good to see that last night. And that's another example of what this type of behavior can do. It can make people put aside their logic and reason and enter into a situation that has none. Okay? So I just want to point that out. Again, I want to give a shout out to Nathan Stoltman. Unirock covered a lot of that too, off and on. Certainly David Seaman. And I got to bring up Craig Sawyer again because he's still looking for the bad guys. And I think Craig probably has some information. I'm hoping so. No, I don't consider him to be a deep state operative, and a lot of people want to put him in that category because he did work with the Clintons and others before in a situation he couldn't have said no anyway. But, as I've long said, there is no such thing as guilt by association. That is a tactic that people use to attack someone when they have no other evidence or ability to debate. I worked for General Petraeus at one point, for instance, and I don't think too many people that know anything have much respect for him at this point. I was with members of the CFR for some time. In my private life, I've had associations, not really I actually worked with a psychiatrist with one guy and had some contact with this guy from Canada who definitely was a problem. But because of my contact with him, they tried to permanently associate you with somebody like that. Trump had contact with Jeffrey Epstein. He's had contact with the Clintons. In the course of life, you have those contacts. It's what you do with them that counts. Okay, and so mere contact, mere association under certain circumstances doesn't mean guilt. And so I just want to make sure that the people understand where I'm coming from on that. Okay. And then I noticed the last thing I want to bring up, I might get done with this pretty quick this morning. I think the chat's on. Let me see. Make sure it's on here. Yeah, it is. Okay. Last thing I wanted to bring up was the deal that I saw late last night. Because this is the thing that's going to kill the FBI if anything does. Frankly, I think that the whole thing that happened in Nevada at the Bundy Ranch could kill it off. Trump could use that information and just destroy them. But there's another thing that's happened, and I don't have the first-hand information about this, but I want you to watch for it. I did see some other indications. Gutlatt said some things the other day that might indicate this. Mike Cernovich said that they now know that McCabe altered Strzok's 302s. Do you realize if they could, on Flynn, if they can prove that happened, the FBI is done. Okay? The FBI is done because I know for a fact that I've seen some crazy things with the FBI. I've never looked at a 302, but I've seen them do that same kind of thing. So it wouldn't surprise me if it ended up on a 302, what they did. Say something to somebody and then testify to it differently in court, which means that they probably had the 302, which I didn't see, altered to back up that false statement, that false testimony. So it really needs to get down where they can't use these 302s anymore. Something written down, that's ridiculous. They should be taping all of these interviews. They should be taping every single one of them, recording. These 302s are nothing more than a way for them to manipulate the situation into what they want it to become. And if this is proven that McCabe altered that 302, bam. The real problem here is will the institutional loyalty, not loyalty to the constitutional republic, but the institutional loyalty that these people like Wray and McCabe and Strzok have to the FBI and the IC generally, those types of people, if their loyalty is such that they will protect the institution, which is wrong. It's wrong. People say, well, no, the institution's okay. I used to hear this with the Mormon church. No, the individual members might have a problem, but the church as a whole is okay. It doesn't work that way. And a lot of Mormons are going to go, what are you talking about? Well, that was my experience. But my point is I'm looking at this government situation. The institution is the problem. And protecting the institution is protecting the corruption in the institution. And that's what's happening here. See, I've had a lot of experience with this cultic stuff, and I just tie it all together, and I'll just speak my mind and tell you the way it is, okay, as far as the way I see it. So at any rate, I also remember statements being said here, and they still are, but they were being said many months ago because Strzok still had his job. All these people were still in the FBI, and there were these reporters, I don't know what else to call them. Anyway, they were saying, oh, the reason why Strzok has his job is because he's turned and he's singing like a canary. Well, now that's obviously not the case. So these guys have an institutional loyalty because that's where they know that's where power is. And the institution, look, Strzok had an FBI attorney. What the hell is he? Why does he have an FBI attorney with him? Why doesn't he have his own personal attorney? What's going on there? Is this a union thing? That when you break the law, which is really where this goes, you get an FBI attorney to defend you? What the heck is that? I'll tell you what, this entire thing is totally out of control. But at any rate, the 302, if it was altered, if they can prove that, Congress and the president better come down hard with a big hammer. A big hammer. Okay, let me see. There was one other thing I wanted to show you. I got to look at this. I'm getting a message here I got to look at real quick. You'll have to pardon me. I just want to see what she's talking about here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, my daughter's really, really excited about the Putin-Trump meeting. She's really going crazy over it. But good, we should, because as I said, I think that's one of the biggest. That's going to be bigger than North Korea with Kim Jong-un. It's what the deep state and the intelligence community and the New World Order is really trying to avoid. I mean, if that alliance occurs, the New World Order is in fact done. It will be destroyed. No doubt about it. Okay, I want to go to this other thing here. I wanted to show you this because people that don't have Twitter probably haven't seen it. If you or I did this to Obama or Obama's supporters, we'd all be arrested. I want to show you this picture. I don't know how well you can see it. Let me bring this up and see if I can let you see. This is on Twitter. So if you don't have Twitter, you won't be able to see this. That's why I'm going to show it to you here. Can you see that? Do you see what it says? I'm waving it around a little bit too much. Let me see if I can get it right where it needs to be. Yeah, that's actually a GIF, a GIF, and it's like a mini video if you don't know what those are. And it's with a gun pointing at you. You can see what it says. I'm not even going to repeat that. This is the kind of thing that's happening, and it's getting more and more common. If there was ever a time when the people of the United States had a right to go after a president, it was the last one. Okay? And while I know that there were some threats made against Obama and all that, at least the Secret Service acted on them. Are they acting on these? Is the FBI acting on these? Hell no. As a matter of fact, somebody said, who investigates the assassination if they assassinate President Trump? The FBI does. You think that's going to be a good investigation? No, I don't think so. Okay. I've said a lot of things here today. I hope that the transmission continued on all right. There may be some skipping and all that. Hopefully the audio continued at least. Julie R. and Twitter did not suspend her account. That's the one with the pistol. That's right, with the revolver. I showed you that. Yeah. Like I said, if we even talked about, if we even said, if we just used the verbiage and not the picture, we would have had a problem. Trump bombing Syria again. I heard that might happen. I hope to God not. See, that's one of the things I have a problem with him on. I'll have to look at that. I know the possibility of another false flag chemical attack has been talked about. I hope not. The Sapper, Disney wins antitrust approval to buy Fox. Disney will own every form of media soon. Not a good thing. I agree. See, that all has to be busted up. That and the social media platforms all have to be busted up. I saw a mention of Talpiot, Unit 8200. Yes, that is a problem. Yeah, it is. Sorry, I got tied up there. Bob Lowe, Trump is ran by Bibi. Same old shit. Trump isn't listening to Mad Dog Maddox. That's something that I've talked about a little bit here. I'm looking at that from a slightly different perspective. And I kind of got into it maybe a couple of weeks ago. Are you people out there, have you ever gone fishing? Have you ever gone fishing? And, especially fly fishing, or any type really. You cast your line and you lead it back or you lead it down the street. You know how you do that? I sense that there's something like that going on between Trump and Bibi, and it's not Bibi doing it to Trump. I have a sense of that at this point. I hope I'm not wrong. White helmets getting paid again, bad idea. Yep, that's another thing. The whole Syria thing. Yeah, those are the things with Trump that bother me. The whole Syria thing bothers me. But obviously I have no control over it. I've yelled about it before. A lot of other people have yelled about it. I don't think it's really Israel pulling the strings on Trump on that one, though. I don't think so. And there's some reasons for that, but I'm not going to go there today. All right, Ace Spade, SHTF is coming like a runaway train. The people are pissed off. Yeah, that's true. That's my Republican Insider sent me that. That's why I named this video that. Okay, let's see if there's anything here. I hope Roy reads the comments. I normally don't, other than, like right now, the chat I do, but I don't normally go into my comments and read them. Occasionally I'll get somebody that'll send me a comment that they see and they want me to know about. But first of all, I don't have time to do that, and I don't mean to be unthankful for whoever puts those comments there, and they're trying to make good ones. But frankly, there are so many trolls I would turn off the comments, but I think it's instructive at some point. So I don't do that because you can see who the bad people are. But the trolls are just, they're not worth my time, and I just don't pay them any attention. So the best way not to pay them attention is not to look at the comments, and I don't. So I do my thing. If you like it, great. If you want to stick around, great. If you don't, that's fine too. It doesn't matter to me, and I think I've made myself abundantly clear on that. Okay. Let's see what else might be here. Yeah, Shifty, Roy, serious part of the Greater Israel plan. This is all Israel. And that's true. That is very true. But keep your eye on Putin. Keep your eye on Putin. What's really going on there? Okay? Putin has a vested interest in the outcome. So watch what he does, and that'll tell you maybe something a little different than what you think. The Sapper, differing opinion does not equal troll. Of course not, and I've said that many times, Sapper. I think you should know that. You probably do. I will never block somebody for a differing opinion. That's not the case. But if you're out there calling people names, and I know I'm not saying you're doing that, the Sapper, but the trolls that come out there and say I even see what I used to consider responsible posters on Twitter who now, because I or these other people don't go along with their concept of what Q is, will call us deep state shills. No, see that's what I won't put up with. I won't put up with those kinds of attacks. I won't pull up with oh, you're a pedophile. Oh, you're an IC insider, or whatever. All these accusations with absolutely no proof, or whatever. Those are what I won't put up with. Okay, difference of opinion. We can talk like this Mormon thing, for instance. If Mormons came and said, "Why do you say we're a cult?" We're not. And this is the reason why we're not. But the thing is I can counter them with some very good information. Most Mormon people are very good. I like the Mormon people generally. But when it comes down to that, despite evidence, they want to tell you that they're right, based upon their emotions and all of that, not based on reason and logic. And I know faith isn't always reason and logic, but God is the one that said, "Come, let us reason together." God's not against reason, right? So if you can't, back up your statements with reason and logic, then I'm probably not going to deal with you. And even on matters of faith, because matters of faith still have to have, what is it? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. It's not just emotion, pure emotion, and you base your actions on that and what truth is. My wife Carol was the first one I heard that statement where she said, Roy, you're trying to apply logic and reason to a situation that has none. Man, she was good. She was good. Okay. We've been going for 50 minutes. Let's see what we have here. NWO 6B2 die. Mormon religion was founded by a Freemason. Have you done your history homework? You know where all of your other religions, almost all of them, came from? Obviously you don't know. Masonry has its good side and its bad side, and I've talked about this before. The Revolutionary War was partly a war between the York Rite and the Scottish Rite Masons, who had different concepts of liberty. Okay? Masonry, people say, well, when you get to the 33rd degree, it's always Lucifer. By their fruits you will know them. A lot of people will say that there's no evil in God. Okay, well then why does Psalms, I think it's Psalms, it might be Proverbs, Why does it say that God created evil? I created evil and the good. Why is the letter tet in Hebrew the instructor? The letter for Satan, shaitan, however you want to say it, Satan. Oh, that's because those are Jews. No, let's not confuse Jews with Israelites. Okay, where you get your belief in Jesus Christ is linked to that Hebrew language, whether you like it or not, and actually to very, very early dynastic Egyptian. But at any rate, the fact of the matter is that the letter tet is the instructor. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Mary Woodruff, ever since they chose Barabbas, I question their Jewishness. Do you know what Barabbas means there, young lady? Mary, do you know what Barabbas means? I think you better go buy my book, The Crimson Thread, and read a little bit, because you might be a little surprised at what that really is. That's Aramaic for son of the father. Yeah, it's not what you think. Barabbas was kind of like saying, "Hey brother, do this. Hey brother, do that," instead of calling them by their real name. That wasn't his name. This is a hidden history, even in the New Testament, about what really happened. You might be surprised at who Barabbas really was. The Bible is pure allegory. No, it's a mixture. M-Day. It's a mixture. There's a thing in Hebrew, and really Hebrew was where the New Testament really was. Of course, it was translated into Greek because that was the big language, sort of like English is today. But there's a thing called, and you heard Jesus talk about it when he said, this day you will be with me in paradise. Well, that's actually an acronym it's an acronym Pardes, which is the different levels of meaning of the Hebrew language, of Scripture, of Revelation, and those things. So you're right. Some of it is allegory. Some of it's mystical. Some of it's very, very high sacred meaning, only for those who attain it. And then, of course, there's the base, level of meaning of the story itself. So you could take a story like of, for instance, Gideon, which may or may not have happened. It could have, but it has some historical basis, right? Or the situation with the king of Assyria attacking the northern kingdoms. That happened historically. We can prove that happened, right? So there are basis in fact for some of it. Some of it's allegory, some of it's not. All of it can be taken at different levels of meaning, and I don't have time to go into that here. LM-Day, okay. I've studied that for a long time. I'm not going to stay with you on that just because I don't want to bore everybody. But have you ever heard of Yaldabaoth? You know who Yaldabaoth is, M-Day? Okay. I don't want to get into a big fight over that. Here's a good one. Rose of Sharon Homestead. Zionism equals the Rothschilds. I'm going to blow your mind here. I'm going to blow your mind here because you need to understand this, I think. This thing about Zionism is thrown around, and the Zionists this and the Zionists that, and equating it to communism and socialism and all that. I'm not saying that's wrong. But what I want to tell you is do you even know what Zion means? Most people do not. They don't understand what it really is. Now, just like I talked about where the gay community took the rainbow, which was a blessed symbol, and took it for themselves, for their own symbol, that can happen by people with even an evil intent with a lot of other things, okay? We see it in the United States with people talking about the Constitution, but they wouldn't follow it if their life depended on it. You know, we're seeing that the Democrats that are saying, oh, Trump doesn't follow the Constitution. Well, where were they before? So merely because somebody uses a term doesn't mean that the term itself is evil. It could have been absconded. It could have been commandeered. But the fact of the matter is, and you need to know this, and I'm going to end on this, and I didn't really want to go down. I'm not sure what that's about. The word Zion is actually a compound word, and it's actually Egyptian in origin, and it has to do with identifying a particular place. When the children of Israel, Jacob, went into Egypt, his son Joseph was sold into slavery, remember? And then Joseph became the viceroy of Egypt, and eventually possibly even the Pharaoh. Joseph moved he was called Zaphnath Paneah, right? He moved his family to Goshen in Egypt. And Goshen is really, it's right in the very fertile part of the Nile Delta. And they established a city there, okay? And they called it On. Okay, that's Egyptian for, and I've talked about this a little bit before, Sun City. In Greek, it's called Heliopolis. In Hebrew, it's called Beth Shemesh. Well, in the early Egyptian was called Zipzi. Egypt was called Zip-Z. Do you hear that? Zip-Z. Z. So then you have Z and On. Z-On. I won't take it any further than that. But you got to understand that the devil will take the good thing and take it to himself. He'll commandeer it and then twist it into evil. It doesn't mean that the original thing was bad. For instance, an original pyramid isn't bad, but it was usurped. Why was it usurped by Satan, by the evil side? Because it's such a powerful symbol, and he needed to twist the meaning of it. He needed to alter it, to subvert it. It's just like sex. God created sex. What did the devil do? He desecrated it. He turned it into something nasty. Most people think, well, not most people, but it's looked down upon. Well, if I remember right, in the first chapter of Genesis, right, it said, "And the man and the woman were naked and were not ashamed." What do we do with that one? Anyway, yeah, zip-zee-doo-dah, yeah, our rose. A lot of our nursery rhymes and these types of things are actually based on their hidden codes that were passed down by mouth. They're the old oral traditions, the true oral traditions that were passed down for those who have the genetic memory to recall those things. So I'll just leave that alone. Okay, I think we're done. I'm not going to get into all this stuff about the temple and all that. I've talked about that before. Maybe one of these days I'll do a maybe I'll get into a real deep religious history, spiritual history discussion at some point in time, but that's not going to be today. Okay, we've done an hour here, and I kind of got off course a little bit, but like I wanted to tell everybody, don't forget that I may not be able to come on next week, starting tomorrow, really. I might be able to do some quick uploads. It depends on if my phone has a connection. I just don't know right now. But I'm not certain that I'll be doing my Tuesday or Thursday live streams next week. We'll see. It just depends. But don't bet on it. You can check with me and see if I am, but don't bet on it. It probably won't happen. So thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate you being here. We jumped around a little bit today, but I really am concerned about why they keep putting off hammering. I'm talking about the Intelligence Committee. Why they keep they keep putting off hammering the FBI and the DOJ for their refusal to comply with the request, the subpoenas. They've been putting this off for too long, and now they pass a resolution. Haven't we had enough resolutions? Damn, they've got no teeth, and so I'm hoping that Trump. And this is a political difficulty, I realize it, but Trump's just going to have to come out and do something about it. But maybe timing is what the deal is right now. But regardless, the FBI and the DOJ are covering up their criminal behavior and showing how bad those institutions have become merely by the way they're acting. And it needs to be dismantled 100%. Turn everything over to the Marshal Service and MI, MI being for intelligence purposes, and get rid of that monstrosity, that embarrassment. It's managed to keep its image to the American people up for a long time, but over the last few years, especially since the World Trade Center bombing in '93, the Waco situation, Ruby Ridge, 9/11, all of these things, the FBI, Boston bombing, the FBI really needs to get a black eye. Actually, it needs to get its head knocked off. It really does. And so it's time to just get rid of that. Too bad all those people with their pay and their pensions. Tough luck. Will that happen? If I were president, never happen, of course. It would be one of the first things I'd do. And I know they say, well, then you get Kennedy'd. Well, I'm sure Trump's got to take that into consideration. So he's moving probably cautiously, but there's no way to get around that at this point, especially that this 302 thing with McCabe, if that turns out to be true. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for coming. God bless you. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America and the Second American Revolution. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears to the ground. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Keep up your situational awareness. Things could get pretty hot here this summer, okay? It could get pretty hot, not just temperature-wise. So, don't go looking for trouble. You might find it, but stand your ground if you need to, okay? Protect your families, protect your lives, etc. All right. God bless Donald Trump and all of his righteous endeavors, and may the Lord bless him with the spirit of discernment that may distill upon him as the dews from heaven, so that he will know the difference between the right and the wrong. Yes, I'm really worried about this Syria thing. And most of all, have the courage to do it. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll talk to you next time. Like I say, I'm not sure when. I might get these little short ones up every once in a while. We'll see. Going to play another ending here that Pam Jones sent out to me. Hopefully you enjoy this. Till next time.